Hello everybody, this is Con. Okay, I'm driving the Mazda CX-3. CX-3 is an interesting product. It is based on the Mazda 2. It is a crossover based on the Mazda 2, but with the power of a 2-liter engine as opposed to the Mazda 2, which only has a 1.5. So this is not my first time driving the CX-3. I had a chance to drive this car in a pretty unusual setting. A couple of years back, Mazda organized this very interesting drive in which we were flown to Bangkok and we drove across border through Laos into Vietnam and finished off at Hanoi. And I drove a sizable leg, sizable portion of that journey in the CX-3. So the first point of contention with the CX-3 is its price. At 135,000 ringgit thereabouts. Granted, it's fully imported, but it is not cheap. For the same amount of money, maybe top up a little, you can get a CX-5. It is a base model CX-5, admittedly, but it is a CX-5. And as I discussed in my previous review of the car, the CX-5 is not exactly poorly equipped. Okay, you don't get keyless entry, yes, but you still have you still have a reverse camera and you still have 6 airbags, ESC and all that. So the base CX-5 has a respectable amount of equipment. But that being said, we do see a healthy number of these on the road. Okay, evidently there are enough people out there who thinks that this car is worth its 130,000 ringgit price tag and could justify paying that kind of money for it. And for the longest time, I thought that this is a ridiculously expensive car. And then UMW Toyota announced the pricing of the CHR, and suddenly the CX-3 looks like a value buy in comparison. Yeah, because if UMW Toyota can charge 140,000 ringgit for a CHR with a 1.8-liter port injection engine, Mazda can definitely justify 135,000 ringgit, okay, for the CX-3 with a far more advanced 2-liter direct injection engine. But however you look at it, right, the CX-3 is not what you would call cheap, especially not for a car this size. So for it to be that popular, right, something has to be right about it. And one of the things immediately that you can see is design. Okay, the current generation of Mazda cars, as we all know, all of them are very good looking cars, very stylish cars, and the CX-3, okay, is another very well styled, well proportioned vehicle. Okay, and plus the fact that it is competing in the fast growing compact crossover segment that is currently being dominated by the Honda HR-V. Okay, now nobody is under any illusions that the CX-3 is going to rival the HR-V, because the HR-V, right, if you look at the balance of things, the HR-V is more competitively priced. It is a bigger car inside. Okay, it is not ugly parked next to the CX-3. No, parked next to the CX-3. The HR-V is also a thoroughly handsome car. Okay, but you see that there is a huge appetite for small sized crossovers at that segment, that there is plenty of market for a car like the CX-3 to exploit. And Mazda is under no illusions that that any of its cars, CX-3 included, are going to be volume leaders. Okay, Mazda is very conscious in attempting to position themselves as somewhat premium alternatives to mainstream brands. So it has no qualms charging what the market perceives to be a slightly more premium price for what effectively is a smaller car. Okay, so it is like people spend 170, 180,000 for a Camry, but yet at the same time, a lot of people can justify spending 200,000 for a BMW 3 Series or a Mercedes C-Class that are both effectively smaller cars. So, alright, so the CX-3 being in our market for a couple of years now, certainly the shape requires no further introduction. Okay, this is a very familiar face. You have seen it in all Mazda models. This is the Kodo Soul of Motion design language, made obvious. You see the large gaping frontal grille together with the slim headlights at either side. Okay, so of course the CX-3 being positioned as a crossover, you see all the uncolored plastic cladding that runs all around the side of the vehicle, at the lower edges of the bumpers, the side seals, around the wheel arches. Okay, so it's supposed to give the car a bit of a more rugged appearance. But let me take you to give you an overall side profile of the car. So this is a very classic SUV proportions. Okay, so it's a two-box design. And okay, so as I move this here, you notice this is the front. Okay, this is the front. We move to the back. Okay, so if you compare the overhangs, the back overhang is actually very, very short. Okay, then you move to the front. The front overhangs, actually Mazda Skyactiv cars tend to have very long, rather long front overhangs. And in the CX-3's case, right, I was reminded of this on a couple of occasions when I go over speed bumps. The front end actually scraped as I was coming down the speed bump. I know for a crossover like this, okay, it is quite churlish to talk about approach angles, but I think the CX-3 could use a slightly more off-road friendly approach angle. The sheet metal, there's this nice interplay of character lines. This line here goes down, and there's another line that comes along here that accentuates the window line. Okay, very nice effect, but just be mindful, all these touches of flair add to your accident repair costs if you kena accident. Still, no denying, this is a very stylish, very handsome looking car. Okay, so if you come to the back, the Kodo styling language remains consistent at the back. You see that familiar interpretation of the taillights, the slim taillights, and yeah, so the lower bumper is very aggressively cladded. Okay, so it gives you from the back, it has a legitimately rugged kind of look. Right, so let's look inside the boot. As you can see at one glance, you can tell this is not a particularly large boot, although you can still store a decently sized suitcase in here. Okay, open here, there is a latch. This panel opens to reveal the jack. Okay, and if you open underneath, this is the spare tire. This is a temporary sized spare tire, space saver. Rear seat backs offer 60/40 split folding, but there's no remote release from the back, so you have to go to the passenger compartment to open it. So it's a decently sized boot overall. It's still big enough to fit one large suitcase, and you can extend the cargo volume by 60/40 split folding seats, although there is no remote release latch either side here, so you have to go to the passenger compartment and open it the old-fashioned way. Okay, so there's this button here. Press this, and you release the seat down. Okay, so press this, come down. Yeah, and you have a decently sized loading floor. It's not perfectly flat, but it's seamless with no gaps in between, so you can load some items here without worrying about things falling down through here. But to give you an overall picture, it is not that big. This is the tonneau cover. It is a removable tonneau cover, but it's not a retractable, so you can pull this latch and just take the tonneau cover out altogether. Okay, this would give you a bigger loading capacity to load bulky items. Yeah, but you have to find a place to store this lah. All right, let's get inside. So with the driver's seat adjusted to my driving position, there is actually decent amount of room. Okay, headroom is pretty good. Legroom is okay, but thigh support is not extending fully to the back of my thigh, so I can imagine that for a long distance drive, my legs may feel a little tight here at the back, even though I'm adequately supported. My back is adequately supported. Okay, individual adjustable headrests. So at the doors, it's just one door handle going down here. Nothing in the way of a big seat pocket. Okay, and here the center console, this comes straight from the Mazda 2. Okay, there's not even a raised center console box here. It's just this cubby hole, two cup holders to dump all your things. No real armrest, but there is a 3-point belt for the middle passenger. And yeah, so it's relatively sparse at the back, but you can feel that, you know, there are very good, nice materials to the touch lah. Okay, so you get this sort of like a suede finish on the door card, contrast with leather. Even this part of this grade of plastics here feel good to the touch as well. Door handle, yeah, feels of quality. Seat pocket, yes, seat back pocket. No seat back pocket here on the driver's side, but you get one here on the passenger side. Okay, so let's adjourn to the front. Okay, let's come to the front. Yeah, at one glance you see this is the familiar cabin of the Mazda 2. Okay, and a quick look at the door. So this one has a bit of a longer door pocket than the back. The base here is stepped, funnily enough, and for some weird reason, right? The door pocket actually, there's like a cave. There's like a cave that goes all the way quite close to the edge of it. So even though the opening is only until here, the door pocket actually goes back all the way to the edge of the seat. Okay, so come inside, and right, so I shall start the car, and voila, we got a heads-up display. Okay, oh, let me off the radio first. Right, so yep, so you see here there is the MZD Connect infotainment system, which you can operate by either the rotary knob on the center console, or you can use touch function. Okay, yeah, it is the same MZD Connect system as you find in all other Mazda models, so there really is nothing to show anymore lah. Okay, yeah, so the instrument cluster, this is the Mazda, this is taken from the Mazda 2, higher grade versions of the Mazda 2, where you have a tachometer at the center and a digital speedometer. Okay, in some markets, lower spec variants, you get an analog speedometer, okay, and then a digital representation of a tachometer by the side here. So this one Kira is like a more atas spec lah. So you see either side, these are monochrome displays, no fancy color display, and you can toggle between various functions. Not much lah, actually it's quite basic. Yeah, nothing new to shout about. Okay, you get pedal shifters. Okay, and you can feel that switchgear quality is generally very good. Okay, all these you know, these controls, these aircon controls, single zone auto aircon control, but the dials feel like, you know, it's very high quality. The finishing, the machining of all these dials feel very premium. Okay, and if you look at the dashboard, you see all this stitching. These are not fake stitches like you would see in the Toyota Vios or the Proton Persona. These are real, these look properly crafted stuff. Yeah, so it really makes the cabin look and feel very, very premium. And you look at, say, the door handle here. Okay, the door handle here, this one is, you know, nice brushed aluminum inserts. So all the material selection of this cabin, right, really gives this car a very upmarket, very polished feel. Okay, if there are any cost-cutting materials in the cabin, right, it is areas where you really don't touch often, and I don't find that many signs of cost-cutting in, you know, in my observation lah. Okay, then you have a sunroof here. If there's anything to complain about this cabin, actually is really a lack of storage space. Okay, because I give you this view of the center console. Okay, so this is a very small slot. Okay, then this here makes space for the parking brake, and you get these cup holders and a cubby hole. Okay, this slot here, I can't even have my phone seated properly on this slot, so it's yeah, it's not terrific. And if you observe, this is where they put the USB port, the 12-volt socket, CD player and all that. So I feel that this position, this area, this cubby hole here, this bin here, whatever you may call it, should be made a bit bigger. At least it should be big enough for me to rest a usual sized mobile phone. Okay, so here's the glove box. The glove box is actually rather good. Okay, rather deep. Plenty of things you can put in there. So that's it lah for the cabin. Really, that sums up the cabin. It's well finished, well built, well appointed, but quite lacking in space, and also the solution, small item storage solutions, really is not quite good enough for current generation of buyers with, you know, with all their range of mobile phones and whatnot, and whatever mobile devices. So that's something that can be fixed upon. Okay, yeah. And before we go to the driving impressions of this car, there's something that I need to show you. Right, so right now I'm at home in the Mazda CX-3. I'm sitting on the driver's seat, adjusted to my proper driving position, and so my left leg is rested perfectly on the front, on the footrest. Right leg, okay, it's at the right position, which I can exert full braking force. Hands, shoulder blade pressed against the seat back, on the steering wheel, wrist on the steering wheel. So this is the correct sitting position. I've even got you know, I can even put a fist above my head. So this is the correct recommended seating position, deemed safe. Okay, so as usual with all my test cars these days, right, the moment I get them, I put a child seat at the back. Okay, so with the driver's seat adjusted to the correct position, to my driving position, I have my child seat inside the back. This is my Recaro 360-degree child seat. So because my daughter is just half a year old, right, so she still has to sit backward facing, but in the CX-3 she wouldn't be able to do so, at least not with the Recaro 01, because with my driver's seat in the correct sitting position, cannot turn fully. So how far forward do I have to push the seat in order for this seat to be able to turn all the way back? Let's find out. So I push it. Okay, so this is just about right. So now see inside. Well, it's kind of a tight squeeze here. Okay, so you may wonder, what about if I put the child seat over at the passenger side? That is workable. Okay, so same amount of space, right? Push this front passenger seat same level as my driver's seat, and whoever that's seated in front will be left with this much leg room. I can't even fit my head through that gap. So this little experiment here presents us with empirical evidence that CX-3 is perhaps not the best choice for a family car, at least not if you are using a Recaro 01 chassis. So mechanically, the CX-3 is based on the Mazda 2's platform. Okay, front wheel drive platform, independent front suspension, torsion beam at the rear. But unlike the Mazda 2's 1.5 liter engine, the CX-3 does get the 2 liter Skyactiv G engine that you see in bigger models such as the CX-5, the Mazda 3, and so on. So alternatively, in some markets, the CX-3 is also offered with a 1.5 liter diesel engine. That's not offered in Malaysia, although Burma's did brought a unit of that spec here for evaluation. As of now, we do not know if there are plans to introduce the diesel variant in Malaysia, but we do know that the case is being or has been studied. Okay, so coming to this car, okay, coming back to the CX-3 2.0 petrol that we do get to buy in our market. So the driving experience of this car is as per any recent Skyactiv generation Mazda, which is not a bad thing because all these cars they tend to drive pretty well. Okay, road noise naturally is on the high side, but that is also because the car is very mechanically quiet. So you see, right, things like the engine, the car's engine, drivetrain, all the running gear, all the mechanical components of the car are extremely refined, and that means that, right, whatever external sources of noise, wind noise, tire noise, it becomes more apparent. Okay, because because that's all you hear. So other cars, right, another car, right, it may generate a higher level of road noise, but because all that noise is mixed with the sound of the engine and the running gear, you don't hear it as much as you do with Mazda cars. And as Bobby spoke about, okay, Mazda engineers, they pay very meticulous attention to how our human body perceives motion. So the whole business about Mazda cars being high on wind noise and road noise, right, that was a deliberate thing on Mazda's part so that the driving experience of the cars do not feel too numb. But of course, Malaysian consumers, we are a very particular lot when it comes to noise, and naturally there are a lot of complaints. Like, okay, I am among those people actually who say, oh, every time I drive Mazda car, noisy lah, what lah, this lah, that lah, and all that. So beginning with more recent Mazda cars, the last couple of years, right, like the GVC enhanced Mazda 6, the new CX-5, the CX-9, right, all these cars now suddenly demonstrated, right, an astonishing leap in noise levels, in the sense that they have suddenly become like a whole fold quieter than the cars that preceded it. So this shows that Mazda, if they want to make quiet cars, they can, but they chose to cut down on the noise insulation levels because they thought that would contribute to the driving experience, even though the results of that effort were not entirely appreciated. Okay, but overall, right, if you are familiar with how the recent Mazda cars have been driving, right, the CX-3 really, the driving experience really needs no introduction. The chassis is very well balanced, it handles well. Ride comfort is actually pretty decent considering the rim size, 18 inches. Okay, engine, as I mentioned earlier, peppy, responsive, yet at the same time it is the acceleration that it delivers, it is capable of accelerating strongly, but the strong acceleration is delivered in a very smooth and linear kind of fashion. So it is very easy to control. Okay, yeah. So if you are in the market at this segment, definitely the CX-3, without doubt, will be one of the best cars to buy if driving experience is high on your agenda. Of course, that's assuming that you don't mind meeting the slightly highish price tag lah. So the CX-3 definitely is not a mainstream choice. It is not a practical choice. Okay, but it would appeal to actually the same kind of consumer that would buy a Mini. So I mean, think about it. If it is the basic appeal, you know, and product proposition is thereabouts the same. Okay, good looking, good to drive, not very practical. In fact, it is these cars like this, right, are not designed to cater for people with, you know, with family needs in mind. These are cars that are meant to cater for people that, you know, they are buying a car as an expression of their style. Okay, even those with families, right, they are buying this car because they have another practical car to call upon to fetch their kids and all that. Mostly a car like this would appeal to bachelors, to maybe young couples who have decided that they are either not having children yet or not having children ever, that kind of mindset. So there you have it. The CX-3, not cheap, not practical, but decently good looking, nice to drive, and yeah, and appeals to the same kind of people that would consider a Mini. So for those of you who have set your sights, you know, to one day own a Mini in the future, the CX-3 may be your stepping stone to that destination. So that concludes my review of the CX-3. Share with me your thoughts in the comment section. I hope to hear from you, and until my next video, thanks for watching. Bye for now.